Hi, I'm Keith Tokerud, one of the lawyers at Tokerud McCarty in Great Falls, Montana. With me is my partner, John McCarty. We're here today to talk a little bit about how we're handling this COVID-19 situation in the office. We never closed up shop the whole time, but it's really affected seeing clients, how we're handling documents and signings. And we thought it might be just a good idea to share with our clients, to share with some of our strategic alliances what we're doing, what we plan to do in the future so that we can keep doing our job as well as possible. Well, was it about March that we started realizing this coronavirus is not just something over in China, it's something in the United States, and not just in New York City, but also in Great Falls, Montana. How did we first start having that affect our practice?
Yeah, it was quick. We had to learn overnight almost. I mean, technically speaking, we could have stayed open in our office here. We're essential business for clients. But a lot of our clients, of course, are elderly or otherwise susceptible. And so we decided that we would make our practice a remote practice. So we all set up our remote offices to work from home, which was an ordeal because we had to get a new phone system in place. A lot of us who didn't already have set up where they could remote into our computer here at work, they had to set up their computers at home in order to do that through a program. We had to also, how do we deal with clients? So we set up a lot of video conferencing through Zoom or FaceTime or the other products that are out there. Telephone calls for the folks that were just more comfortable with telephone calls. Worked out pretty well. To get all that set up, thankfully we have a staff in place, a young staff who are very good in new technology and willing and raring to go. So it was kind of a group effort in that regard. The message ultimately is that we're still open, and estate planning is just as important as ever, if not more than important than ever. And so we wanted to set that up, that we're not eliminating our practice and waiting for something to open up for us. We're continuing our practice, but doing it from a remote setting. Clients have been just amazing on their ability to accept the new normal, at least temporarily, and getting into the Zoom calls. It was new to us, it was new to them, and it worked out. Telephone calls, we would have our initial meetings that way. We would have follow-up meetings. We could even put together the documents, get them out to them, and either have a video conference where they're seeing it on the screen, or we're mailing out to them ahead of time and they're looking at that. So we can get those documents reviewed, approved by the client. And then what we came up with is kind of unique in a sense. We call them a couple of things: curbside signings or drive-up or drive-by signings, where once they've approved it, then we just print the signature pages on the documents and meet them out in the parking lot. Typically, estate planning documents, so a lot of them need to be notarized. Your last will and testament, your living will need to be witnessed as well, so we would have the appropriate people there and make it a quick signing, and everybody practicing their social distancing, having the masks on, weather permitting. We were getting them out of the car and having them on at a table there, what we were calling our outside office that we have. And that was great. For folks who were out of town or weren't able to come in, a little bit more challenging. We had to talk about, okay, now that they're approved, how do we get these signed? And so in some instances, we were able to just mail it out to them, and they had the ability to go to a bank or a title company, something like that, set up the ability to have their signatures be witnessed and notarized. Ultimately got that back to us. For those folks who didn't have that ability, we didn't really run into that problem too much, but we talked about how they could just get them executed and signed, not with a witness or the notary, and under most instances, under Montana law, that would be a valid legal document that might require some additional proof when necessary, but for the time being, had that in place and then follow up later with some actual formality of the signatures. And fortunately, we didn't have to do that too much.
Yeah, so that's all, I guess Governor Bullock called that phase one. Mm-hmm. Then phase two kicked in.
Yeah.
How did that affect what we did?
We decided we're gonna at least get back our office first, our staff. So the first week in June, We started coming back into the office, getting ourselves reacclimated to working together in the office and how that's going to be going on. And then we started bringing in clients on a limited basis, and we'll continue to do that until further notice. But so some of the things we're doing in that is the clients, when they come in, they need to get in the building. The Davidson building where we're located at has their own protocols that when you enter the building, you must be wearing a mask in the common area. Sign in, you don't necessarily have to put your name on the sign-in sheet if you don't want to, but just indicate where you're going. So they have some way of tracing in the event there is a risk. So that's all intended to put the visitors at ease, knowing that there's some safety protocols in place. Going up the elevator one at a time, unless you're a household member, with a household member, you can go up together. Once you're into our office, there's not a mandatory requirement to wear a mask, but if they choose to wear a mask and would like us to wear a mask, we'll certainly do that. And even before getting to our office, to ensure the safety of all of our employees and our clients and all that, we're asking that our clients, our visitors, work with us to tell us whether or not they've been out of state prior to coming into our office, or they may have been exposed, or they haven't been exposed to the best of their knowledge. So they're answering some of these questions so we can take those safety measures. And if there is a response that says, well, geez, I just came from Arizona, and Arizona is just getting hit again with back on some more cases, or otherwise they've answered in a way that it seems that there may be some risks there. Unfortunately, we're going to have to ask those clients to reschedule, and we'll do it. We'll not have that meeting. So that's why we want to do this all up front, so we're not taking that time out of their schedule to come into the office and be told that. So we'll emphasize on getting that as best as we can all sorted out prior to the meeting. Once we're in the meeting, once we're into the office, we're practicing this, safety measures as best we can. We're not just allowing folks to stay out in the lobby. They're immediately escorted into the conference room. They're placed on the far side of the conference room. So when the attorney is aware they're there, you or I, then we can go in, and we're on the near side of that. So we're maintaining our distance as much as possible. Our smaller conference room presents some challenges, so we can't have an overly large number of people in there. You could have a couple and myself and maybe their financial advisor, in our conference room, and we still keep those 6-foot distances. The couple can be sitting next to each other. If we get much bigger than that, we might be able to squeeze another person in there, but other than that, if there's a bigger family arrangement, we'd have to do that by conference call or Zoom, or maybe make arrangements for another meeting room off premises. Having said all that, though, we're not just going all back from a remote practice to the way things were. We're right in the midst of this. There's still an element of uncertainty, and who knows, this might be a permanent portion of our practice. We're still offering telephone calls, Zoom calls, drive-up meetings, the curbside, all of that. So we're still practicing that. We've incorporated the remote aspect into our new protocol in our office, the way we do things, our procedures.
Yeah. So if someone wants to understand a little bit more where we're coming from, how we would approach this, how would they find out what our protocols are, what makes sense, what their options are?
Yeah, we put together some written materials that talk about our protocols, and they can be found in a couple of places. When we set up a meeting, we'll have a welcome packet that we do with all new clients, and it'll be tucked in there what those protocols are. We also, in the practice of reminding them of their appointments prior to that, and we'll send out a reminder letter followed by a follow-up call. But in that reminder letter, we'll be tucking in that document as well as another reminder. And then also, we'll have it posted on our website, so they can always look at the website too and see it there. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for them to access.
Well, I think, John, you've done a very good job explaining what we did in phase 1, kind of where we are right now, clarified that people really have options. A lot of people, and I'm kind of like this, I'm all about face-to-face meetings. I think that's really the best way to communicate, and if possible, I prefer that. But I don't want to make any of our clients ill. I think I'm healthy as can be, but who knows?
Right.
And we certainly don't want to put anyone in a situation where they don't feel comfortable, that we're pushing their boundaries. So a lot of this will be at the discretion of our clients, of our financial advisors and CPAs that we're working with, what they want to do. Right. We're trying to accommodate that, but to fit within the rules of Governor Bullock's phase 2, and then when phase 3 comes, we'll deal with that as well. Right. A lot of our clients already know our receptionist, Chris. She's just as friendly as can be, and she'd be a great source of information if anyone has any questions or any concerns. Just to call, and Chris could run them through things as well as anybody could.
I totally agree. Yeah, or anyone who, if Chris is not available, anyone else in the office, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I hope this has been useful to people. I think we've done a pretty good job riding the waves here. Our clients have been really great to work with. Yeah. We think we're going to be able to move back to normal, and we're not going to rush it, but we're going to do what we can so that we're able to get our work done, because one thing about this coronavirus, it really makes you realize how important estate planning is. And of course, the wills and the trust, yes, but the healthcare planning, the healthcare power of attorney, who have you named? And then our living wills already talked about it. Well, if I'm on death's doorstep, I don't want this, I don't want that. Well, now ventilators are a big topic. There can be some real discussions, and not that we're medical experts, but we've read quite a bit about it. We're happy to participate in that as well. Yeah. But I think the underlying message is it really would be important for people not only to deal with all the hassle of meetings and masks and so on, but to understand for themselves how beneficial it would be for them and their families to think about these things, and where appropriate to get their documentation updated.
Right. And even if they're not ready to go the full length to put a totally new plan in or a total change of a plan, they may have the option of just saying, you know what, those healthcare documents are really important. Let's get those in place right now. We can talk about revising the trust or creating a trust later. It'd be nice if we could do it all at one time, but if that doesn't work out, let's get those healthcare documents in place.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Well, John, thank you so much. I really appreciate your participating, and we'll see you next time.